Right, my name's Jeff from Leapfrog Internet Marketing. We're an SEO agency and we're pretty much a one-trick pony. We live and breathe SEO, which is all about getting clients' websites onto Google and then generating inquiries and sales from their website. So what I want to do is share with you actionable tips that you can go back to the office tomorrow and actually implement on your websites to actually get more inquiries and sales and actually make your website work for you. There's three things that are merging with Google in 2019. Often, if you see them moving their talent about, that's normally where they see their growth and where they want to put their investment and where SEO is likely to go. One of those is going local, basically. So we're going to go through three things, but going local is all about people on mobile devices walking about and how you can get your website or your presence in front of those people, for people within quite a small radius from where your business is. The second one is go voice, and that's just all about voice search and how that's emerging. And the third one, it's been around a while, but Google's come up with this new acronym called EAT. I'll explain a little bit more about that, but that's really just talking about feeding the beast, feeding the Google algorithm, which is this amazingly complex machine that no one really understands. Google wants to invest even more in local, okay? They see so much value in this. And one of the simple reasons is now something like 64% of all searches are on a mobile device. Going local is super important to Google, and I think because of that, we're going to see more and more of the Google My Business listings, that the map we just saw. Go into your Google My Business listing if you've got one, clearly if you haven't set one up, and just make it 100% complete. Make sure you put your opening hours in, your website, your email, your categories. Put photos in. It's almost like your CV online. People want to see your face, want to see your office, see your products, services. And the other one is your category. Okay, for Leapfrog Internet Marketing, just below, we've categorized ourselves as Internet Marketing Service. You can put several categories in: marketing consultant, marketing agency. It's really important what your primary category is, and the best way to work out which should be your primary category is go and do your keyword search and look at the category that your competitors are in that slot and just copy it. Okay, sometimes you can't question it, just use the data and go, well, that must be the category for me if I want to get found. But category is super important for helping Google understand your business and where they want to list your Google My Business listing, for which type of keywords. So once you've got your Google My Business listing, there is a thing called NAP in SEO circles. All right, so this is name, address, and phone number. And so for us, our NAP would be Leapfrog Internet Marketing, our address in Fleet, and then our telephone number. What Google wants to see is, first of all, that your NAP is correct on your Google My Business listing. It will then look for other occurrences of your NAP, and it's looking for consistency. So what it wants to see is your name, address, phone number on your Google My Business listing is correct, but also that is mirrored on the footer of pretty much every page of your website, ideally, certainly on the Contact Us page. And then Google wants to then verify that you are bona fide, and it then looks for instances of your NAP across the web. And the way it does this is this is where all these business directories kick in, the likes of Yale, Scoot, Royal Mail, 118, Companies House. They look at over 200 different sources. And if Google sees a consistency of your NAP across the web, that really supports you getting higher up in that Google My Business listing. It's kind of a supporting factor. And the back-end negativity of that is when your NAP is inconsistent. So for example, we had a client who was a beauty salon in Frimley, and she was cruising right at the top when people put beauty salon in, nails, all this sort of stuff. She moved to she moved to Farnborough, which isn't far away, and she changed the address on her Google My Business listing, and she just dropped off Google. And it was because all those other addresses you'd forgotten about, all those directories you submitted to, still had her old Frimley address. And it was a boring job, but we just went through all these directories and just changed her address to a new address. And then Google was happy, and then she floated back up again. But it was just that consistency. And there is a tool called Moz Local, so you can check your own NAP. So just Google Moz Local, and you just stick in your company name and your postcode generally, and what it will say is your current score, say in this case is 41%, and it will go and find instances where either directories you're not on or where it finds inconsistencies, maybe your telephone number or your address and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a neat tool for just cleaning up the web, basically, just helping Google out. All right, Moz Local. So now I want to talk about voice. I mean, to me, voice search isn't coming down the road. Voice search is here. Okay, it's not this futuristic sci-fi thing already. It's already here, and how do we leverage that? So who has any of these devices? Anyone from Alexa? Yeah. Google? Yeah. Siri? Most iPhone users, yeah. Does anyone use Cortana? No? It's on Windows machines, Windows 10? No? See, this is where I don't see voice, is people talking to their own PCs. Yeah. I can see them in the home environment maybe, or on their phones talking, but I'm not sure about talking to your own in a shared office, for example. This was interesting. This came from International Women's Day a couple of weeks back, and the sexism in voice search, and the fact that 3 out of 4 of those voice assistants are female voices. It's only Siri where I think you can change it. It can either be a man or a woman. And the other thing that came out of that was something like women are 70% less likely to be understood by a voice assistant because they are developed by men, and they don't account for the female voice, intonation, all that sort of stuff. I thought that was quite an interesting fact. Not a very optimistic fact, but yeah. So these are some of the stats around voice search. James has already touched on the fact that in the last year, 60% of adults have actually tried voice. They may not be regular users, but they've certainly played with it. And you can see now that fourth stat there, 50% of all queries will be voice searches in 2020. 2020 is next year. 50% of all searches. I mean, this is already completely changing how we operate as SEOs, when next year half of it will be around voice. So one of the questions some people say, but okay, voice is okay in the B2C space, business to consumer, when you're asking what's on at the cinema next Friday or what time does B&Q open, all that sort of stuff. But would people in a shared office environment ask for what's the telephone number of my nearest marketing consultant, or would they, but I think it's coming. I think the culture will change, and voice will happen, maybe at a slower rate, but I think it certainly will happen also in B2B spaces. I think people will break that taboo and start, I think, talking to their PCs more, but maybe it's slower. And when you think about voice, a lot of things on voice is all about questions. Who, what, why, where, how. So then you've got to think, how am I going to get onto Google for all of those questions that people are asking? What can I do to get Google to find my website? And an obvious one is, do you have a frequently asked questions section on your website? It sounds really obvious, ask questions and then answer them, ask questions and then answer them. And also think about the way people make searches. So if someone was typing in, someone might type in opening times, Sainsbury's, Basingstoke, right? So you think, well, for a typed query, my website already services that because I put my opening times in, okay? But if it was a voice one, you wouldn't, that feels too formal. You'd say something like, oh, when does Sainsbury's near me open today? So if you were going to cater for that, I'd also stick that question, however obvious it is, in your FAQs. put that in FAQs and then answer it, and then it's more likely that your website will pop up. Clearly, you're not a local Sainsbury's, but that there will be parallels with the businesses that you operate in and the markets you operate in. And also, you've got to think, sometimes you're thinking, well, what questions should I be answering on my website? When I think about what I get asked the most, it's, why does SEO take so long? You know, it's generally a 6-month process. And so I think I'd start with all those questions. You know, when you're with a potential customer, you can almost guess the questions they're going to ask you because they're always being asked of you. Translate those onto your website, put them down into questions and answers. So I'm sure you've got big databases in your heads that you could put straight down in terms of questions and answers on your website, and that increases the likelihood of you getting found for voice searches. So the final one is I'm going to look at a thing called EAT. Okay, so this is an acronym, okay, and it means expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So expertise, authority, and trust. And if you hit all 3 of these with your web presence, you will be on Google page 1. All right. So I'm going to just cover the 3 and give you some practical tips on these. So expertise. Okay, expertise is the stuff you put on your blog content or your news content, okay? It's you demonstrating you're really, really good at what you do, but clearly it's no point it's staying in your head. You know, I know someone who is absolutely amazing at installing audio-visual equipment, but he never puts it on his website, so no one's ever going to know he's the expert just from searching for his services online. And it's about translating that massive knowledge within your organizations and getting it down. You know, if that needs someone external to help you, whether it's a copywriter or a marketer, then that might be what you need. So you've already got it on your blog, and you can demonstrate your expertise. We've already touched on frequently asked questions as well. Okay, so that ticks that box. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but it's a fairly straightforward thing to do. The other 2, authority and trust, I'm afraid Google won't take your word for it if on your website you say, I'm a high authority in what I do, or I'm very trustworthy, buy from me, all right? They just won't. So where Google looks for signals when it's to do with authority and trust are actually what we call off-page signals. So it's basically other websites generally. So, some ideas here for building your authority. So this is, this is one of our clients in the education space, okay? So they have various accreditations, CMI, Pearson's, all these kind of awarding bodies. We've gone out to those awarding bodies and got links on those awarding bodies to our client. Often these people have a list of their training providers anyway. That link from, say, a link from CMI, which is highly respected in the educational space, super kind of authoritative, that link will really show Google that our client is super authoritative in their space, and they don't need to take the client's word for it because someone else who's super authoritative is telling them that from that link. There must be other examples there where you might have accreditations in your industry that you could get links. And then if you look at trust signals, this is like manna from heaven for me from an SEO backlinker. Okay, our local council, so we're in Fleet, Hart District Council, offer free business listings. Right, free. Took me 10 minutes to fill this in, and I've got a link to my website. Why am I so excited about this? There aren't many websites that are more trusted by people and Google than government websites. This is a .gov.uk, you know, a .edu or a .ac.uk educational establishment. Does your local authority where you live have free business listings? Check it. Get yourself on there. It will show Google that you are trustworthy because you get this trusted link. Are you a member of the Chambers of Commerce? Are you a member of the FSB? Are you a member of, do you have any quality standards in your organisation, 9001 or 14, those sort of things? Getting links from those people they sometimes often have lists, will really, really kind of tick that box in terms of trust. Just think through think through from your business where you could get more trust or authority signals from. That's it from me. I hope that's been useful. I've just covered 3 very quickly: local, voice, and eat. If you've got any questions, thank you very much.
In terms of trying to make things almost local-centric, how do companies that have more of an international or export element to their business buy into something similar in terms of how they can utilise Google for that?
Have you got an example?
Well, the aviation company that I work with, the engineering company.
There are actually some markets where local wouldn't come into. So it doesn't apply to all industries.
But in terms of the link building, if they're part of, for instance, the International Air Transport Association, which they are, and listed on their directory, that's where the authoritative element comes in.
You tick the authority box, but I don't think the first point we covered about local would apply to them. I've got a client who sells swimwear online, and that's not localized at all. People aren't bothered about buying swimwear. They don't really care where the person is. So there's certain markets where the local bit doesn't kick in, but that link would still be, I think, authority or trust. I can't think which.
Presumably that company doesn't use budgie smugglers as one of their SEO key words.
I do some modelling from time to time. Yeah. Hi.
On the Google My Business, is it purely for businesses then that really do have their own physical address? What about businesses that sometimes operate within another business address? Can they still do that?
You can do, as long as you clearly got permission to do that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. The scenario is, yes, I run a Farnham Business Hub, which is a business community, but we operate generally on Friday mornings from a pub or a restaurant or whatever. That's not our property.
With their permission, I mean, to get the Google My Business listing, a postcard would come through. So they'd need to intercept that to set it up in the first place. That might be the sticking point with that.
But we could do it by mutual agreement.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about serviced offices, think about here. Think about how many pins on the maps there are, Google My Business, just in this, and they're all sharing the same address. Right. And that's where the NAP's important, because the address is all the same. So the way Google would distinguish that those are all separate businesses is clearly the name would be different and the telephone would be different. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you mean put links of, like if you were a member of the Chamber of Commerce, you just put a link to their website, or do you put their sticker or Google logo?
Yeah, so you linking out of your website doesn't help your SEO. You kind of need to receive the link love into your website.
Putting a link on your website that you are part of the Chamber of Commerce.
I don't think it would help your SEO. You could argue that might help your respectability, that you're a member of an organisation. That certainly would help. But I think Chambers has a directory listing, doesn't it?
They do.
Yeah, I mean that's valuable. Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Great.